and let me know if you can hear me. Angela, if you're there, or anyone. I see a couple of you are in the room. Just leave me a comment so I know that this is working. Oh, yes, we've got 5 people here. Okay. Hi, it's Catherine. So I'm using a new platform again. So whenever I do that, I'm like, is it working? I don't know. But I see there's at least 5 of you who've hopped on already. So welcome to today's live stream. As you know, today we have a special guest. Okay, good. Frank says I can hear you. Hey, Angela. Hey, Retief. Oh, Blake is here. Lily's here. Welcome, guys. Mona's here. We have a special guest for you today. And you guys know I talk a lot about following your dreams. Hey, Vias. And I have a special guest we're very in tune spiritually and with what we do with like putting our dreams out in the world and trying a lot of things and failing. Hey, Danny. Hey, Elena. So I'm going to be introducing to you Rodney Damon Collins. You may know him from the Darman series, but he's got a lot of other great things going for him too. So I'm not going to wait any longer. We're going to add him to the stream right now. Hey, Rodney.
Hey, Catherine, what's up?
Hi. So we've got, hi, Brittany. Hey, Lauren. Hey, Amaze Chase. So we've
What's up, everybody?
Nicola's here. So I thought about having Rodney on because you guys saw the video on Friday. He was one of my 17 husbands on Darman. And but he's also, why don't you give us just a little thumbnail snapshot of some other things you've done in the industry? Because I think a lot of the fans don't know the other stuff you've done, because Darman's such a big platform that people go, oh, yes, you do other stuff too? And they're so surprised.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll share a little bit. I'm on an Amazon Prime TV show called Chosen Kin Origins. It's a superhero show. Character is Dr. Watson.
You're playing a doctor on a superhero show. Tell us the name of it again.
Chosen Kin, K-I-N. Origins.
Chosen Kin.
And it's my character, Dr. Watson, is an investigator for the government. He's like David Duchovny from back in the day, X-Files, and a little Samuel L. Jackson character kind of mixed together. So that's one of the projects I'm very proud of, because that was actually my first kind of, I would say, streaming network type show. So
wow.
It came out, back in 2017, I got on that show. I'm also I produced 4 films myself. Sleepers is one.
Feature-length films?
I have one feature-length that I produced, and it's called The Expectation. That will be coming out later this year. It's a Christmas film that we shot last year.
Somebody take notes on this so we can put it in the chat later so we can all go back and find these things he's talking about. I'm going to assign that to one of you guys, okay?
I have an episode of Grey's Anatomy. That was in 2017 as well. I was a medical intern. I had a chance. I did a scene right where Jesse Williams and Meredith, I was right there, right with them. It was pretty cool. So I enjoyed that. I have up to, I think you read it once. I think I have like 26 actor credits on my in my resume, which I'm very proud of. And I recently won Best Male Actor for The Central Authority, which is streaming right now on Tubi. So that movie just came out last year. It's a, hey, what's going on? Yeah.
So, baby. I'm sorry. All right, we got a little family situation here.
This is how you improv, though. Improv, actually. We have improv skills. You always have to be ready for what comes up. So while Catherine is doing her improv, I'll keep talking.
That's right.
So those are just a few things that you can kind of check me out on. But if you type in Rodney Damon Collins on Google, a whole scroll of stuff that
you guys can see his name on the screen, right? Yeah. So you could look him up. So I invited you on today because I read your book. Ooh.
Yes.
Shattered.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I think we've all been shattered in life. And he's able to articulate the journey he's been on. You know, this is, it's memoir, but it's also self-help.
Yes.
You can see I have a lot of sections marked that I thought were worth revisiting. So,
wow.
you know, you got some juicy stuff in here. And I love how you were able to take, you know, because I have an online course creator, and I train people, and the best way to teach people really is to share your personal stories and what you learn from that. And I love how you're talking about your journey, but then at the end of each chapter, you're giving people some questions to ponder about their life. And
exactly.
Very, very helpful. Lauren writes, I love when Catherine's kids randomly pop into the live. Mona says, sounds like an interesting book. So I'm going to visit some of the places in this book and let you elaborate on it. So this is something I talk about almost every week on the live. And you're talking about here, that's when I discovered the key element of purpose. We want to matter. Let me pause here for a second and ask you, where do you matter? At what point in your life did you really feel like you mattered to someone or something? What were you doing? That could have been the beginning of something great in your life. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I can definitely speak on that. I've had several moments in my life, but I'll go back to my senior year in high school real quick. There was this competition called Superfella. It was kind of like they voted for the top 5 in popularity.
Superfella?
Yeah.
Okay.
Back in the day. And I was nominated. I was one of the top 5. And during that time, we had to produce, that's actually when I produced my first sketch comedy too. But we had to produce a skit and other things to promote ourselves. And then we had to give a speech in front of my school student body at my school was roughly 2,800 students. And that was my first time ever speaking in front of a large group, because I'm talking family members. Everybody was invited to come hear me give my speech. At that moment, I saw how, impactful, like the gifts that God had given me, how I could use them to really lift a lot of people up, and that I do matter.
Yeah.
I saw from that point. So that's one instance right there.
So you guys listening, is there a time in your life when you were doing something and something just sparked in you where you felt like what you were doing was important, or you felt like a joy doing it, or somehow it was tied into gifts and talents, whether those gifts and talents were developed yet or whether they were just fledgling? Do you guys remember what you were doing at some time in your life? I know Angela could say it was singing.
Wow.
What was it that you guys were doing? Was it fixing a car? Were you painting something? Were you playing basketball? What was it that made you feel important, or that you mattered to someone or something? Because that is, you guys ask me all the time, well, how do I find out what my purpose is? Well, that's tied into your purpose, is figuring out those little moments in your life that matter.
Yes.
All right. So we had a few people going on here saying, I'm going to get that book. Is it on Amazon? Yes, it is on Amazon.
Wow.
And I love this because last week, I'm going to read another section from page 28 of your book. Last week, we talked about loneliness, and we talked about being alone. And I love that you have here. For me, it means, this is like going after your goals and purpose. For me, it means being satisfied with walking by myself. Yeah, I have my family by my side, but my life is no longer filled with a large number of people. As I've seen people leave my life, I've had to understand there was a focus that my dreams required. My challenge to each person is that you be willing to not be in a crowd in order to focus and prepare for what you desire to have happen in your life. You want to elaborate on that, or talk about how, because there's so many people on here that they tell me like, nobody likes me, I get bullied, I only have a couple of friends. And I'm like, that's perfect. You only need a couple that believe in you. You don't need the crowd. And one of Brittany, who was on here, I think it was Brittany who said last week, I would rather have 4 quarters than 100 pennies when it comes to friendship. So,
Hey, that's exactly how I feel. But what really helped me realize that is when we started moving out to Los Angeles from Cleveland,
yeah.
and I had to come first because
Hmm.
my wife was still in Ohio, and son and daughter
Same.
are in school. Yeah, so
Same
you
thing
get
here.
it, yeah. And
Yeah.
at first, I was like, man, I'm by myself for the most part,
Hmm.
and I had to learn to really like me, really like
Ah,
my own company, and be like, and I had to ask questions like, do I really love myself? Because now I'm really alone with me. So I had to spend
yeah.
time with myself. That's actually when I wrote my book, is when I was by myself, because I started going to the beach every day. Like, if I
Mm,
wasn't at work, I was at the beach, and I was spending a lot of time meditating and just really
hmm.
trying to find out who I really was and what my purpose really is. So
Yeah.
that being alone was beautiful. Like all the noise was gone,
Because
all
let's
the
just pause
clamor.
on that for
Yeah.
a second because
Mm.
a lot of you guys on here, I know you want to find out what your purpose is, but you're not taking that time away from the noise. Like he would go to the beach every day to meditate. How many of you guys are guilty? I know some of you who are just,
Yeah.
you're by yourself, but you can't stand being by yourself. You're scrolling through social media, you're watching something, you're listening to music, you're always doing something to fill your ears so you can't hear from God, and you
Yes.
have to get away from the noise and the people and the electronics to really have those thoughts that are clear that you can hear back from God when you're praying about your purpose. You can't keep going, God, I can't hear you while you're
Yeah.
listening to Jay-Z,
No.
which doesn't work
You
that
can't.
way.
You gotta shut Jay-Z up sometimes, because
That's right.
because I had to really I looked at that and I started falling in love with myself. I started writing down affirmations that I believed that what God says about me. First, I started with what I believe God says about me. And then I started adding
Yeah.
what I wanted to see happen in my life as a result of that. And I just remember one time where
Let's
doing
pause on, I'm sorry, let's pause on that
go
for
ahead.
1 second, because how many people think it's selfish to love yourself? I want you to bring some clarity to
Mm,
that.
yeah. Well, I got to tell you, I've been married 26 years, and
Congratulations. It's a long time.
thank you. Yes, it is. It's been beautiful. But during that time, both my wife and myself, we had to make sure that we really loved ourselves before we can give each other love. Because if you're looking
Mm,
to get your love from somebody else, they cannot fulfill you the way God has made you. At times,
yeah.
you don't look for that person to give you. Nobody can make you happy but yourself. I say that very, confident, that because sometimes people get in relationships expecting that person's going to make me happy. No, that person's going to make me happy. No, you got to be happy and got to be content and love yourself before you step outside and start loving someone else. You can't do it because you can't pour from an empty cup.
Hmm.
And by loving yourself, your cup is filling up. So when you fill that cup up, now you can pour it to somebody else's cup to help fill their cup. So that's the best way I can tell you right there.
Mm. Okay, doesn't he sound like a carbon copy of me, guys, when you hear him talk? Like we're so in sync. Those of you guys who are on here each week, you're like, yep, that's Catherine. Okay,
That's
so
what I
sorry to
love.
interrupt. Continue
Oh,
with
oh
the
no, I was just
story.
gonna say, when I was out here, I think it was one of the Marvel movies that came out, and I usually go to the movie with my wife or my whole family, but nobody was here at the time, so I went ahead and said, well, I haven't been to the movie by myself. Let me see how I like this. And when I got there, I'm like, okay, I can get as many concessions as I want because it's just me. I can treat myself really well right now. So, so during that time, I enjoyed the movie. For one, I sat by myself, had my feet up on the chair. I'm not telling you guys to do that in the movie. Don't put your feet up on the chair, but I did, and I sat back and reclined and had a good time. And I was like, wow, I'm actually a pretty good date. Me,
Ah,
myself, and I. I was like, so I
yes.
started figuring that out. It's like you can definitely have fun by yourself and nobody's looking at you like, oh, they're by themselves. Matter of
Uh-uh.
fact, I think a lot of people are kind of jealous when you can be so happy and bold when you're just by yourself, when you're
Mm-hmm.
not worried about, because my life at one point was filled with numerous people always coming to my house, especially when I worked vocationally in ministry. Always people coming to my office, always people coming to my house. But when all that left, I had to see that the one person who's always with me is God.
Yeah.
Always. And
Yeah.
when he says, I'll never leave you or forsake you, it really does. It's so true that God is with you all the time. You're never
Yeah,
alone. Never
you
alone.
never are by yourself.
No.
Um, Something you had here, I have to figure out what it is. I wrote same next to it, like same. So what was it that were the same? Um, don't ignore the unique gift God has given you. It serves as a compass for your life. One thing I've always known is that I have dreams that are connected to my purpose. For example, I've been given a deep desire to see people encouraged and living life to their fullest potential. That is my calling and purpose too. We are the same in that area. I call
Yes.
myself an encouragement coach, not a life coach, but
Yes.
an encouragement coach, because I think that's huge. And why do we need encouragement in our life? Well, our toughest enemy was the inner me you have here. So
Yes.
you are your biggest enemy. If
Yes.
anyone's, it's so easy for us to say, well, the reason I'm not successful is because I'm in a wheelchair. The reason I'm not successful is because my skin is too dark, or I'm too fat, or I'm too poor.
Yeah.
And really, the reason you're not successful is what you're telling yourself, what you're
Yeah.
telling yourself you're capable of. Do you want to speak on that?
Yeah. Definitely. I really do. I think it's so important that you realize that what your words say, our words. And see, I'm sitting like this because I feel like I'm actually over your house on the couch right now. I'm talking.
Yeah.
But you have to realize that how powerful our words are. And when you start making those agreements with who you are, they really do. They really do. They dictate the path that you go. And so my inner me, when I say that, is that I used to be self-deprecating at times.
Me too, big
I would be like,
time.
oh, I messed up here. I guess I'm this. I guess I'm that. And then I seen some things that my father struggled with. And thank God parents been married 74 years. 54 years. They're 74, 73 to still alive. I almost said 70. But hey, who knows? Maybe God will take them to that long
Right?
prosperity. I don't know. But the fact is, I used to see my my parents struggle with certain things, and I started speaking their struggles on me.
Mm-hmm.
So I started inviting things because I was fighting with who I really was. And your words are so, so powerful. Do not make agreements with yourself. Do not have that inner conversation that you're tearing yourself down with. So
I
it's
love
just,
that you
yeah,
called it agreements. I've never
yeah,
quite heard it phrased that way.
hmm,
And when we're saying things about ourselves that we don't actually want to be true, that we don't
yeah,
actually want to have happen, when we're saying, I don't have enough for my bills, I can't handle my problems, or
right,
whatever it is, you're agreeing with the dark forces, you're
yeah,
agreeing with the devil,
yeah,
and you're making a bond. You're doing a handshake with the devil. That's not a handshake with God, because he says,
no,
with me all things are possible.
yes,
So when you repeat things that are not from God, you are literally doing a handshake with the devil. And I don't think people realize that. But when you say the word agreement, that just made it's easy for us to go, oh, I'm just putting myself down a little. Oh, I'm just
yeah,
being. But when you use the word agreement, I hope you guys see how much that drives home what you are actually doing. And
yeah,
agreements can be legally binding, and those
yes.
can be hard to break.
Yes. And so when you say legally binding, I want to add, you make them spiritually binding.
Mm.
you know,
And then
it's,
you got to get like, you got to be doing some heavy duty stuff to break those off your life.
exactly.
So Nicola, if you guys have any questions for Rodney, go ahead and put them in the chat, and I will ask him the questions you have. But until you start putting in questions, you're just gonna get some stuff from his book. Okay. One thing in here I really loved is when you said, I recall as a kid one of my friends calling me the world's greatest pretender. While he was trying to be funny, like he was trying to make fun of you. Oh, yeah. He was actually affirming the gift that you have. And there's so many people who tell me, "Oh, so and so's insulting me." And I'm like, take those insults as affirmation. Oh, yeah, you're the fat, You're the fat model, huh? Why, yes, I am. Thank you for affirming my gift. I am a plus size, curvaceous model. Instead of taking it as a complete insult and why it's never going to happen, take it as affirmation. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, when I was a child, when I would play with my friends, I used to try to arrange the play. I was directing everybody, telling everybody what we should do. I was actually
Same.
I planned commercial breaks in our play. Seen the play.
That's funny.
And they were
Okay, I
getting
didn't
so
do that.
irritated. Yeah. I was
Wow.
like pretty like, no, wait, hold up, this and that. But I was putting everybody in a character also. So during that time, that was really a gift that I had, a desire that I wanted to work in entertainment, really showing itself as like knocking, like Rodney, this is what your gift is. But I didn't really know how to work that out, especially growing up in Ohio, which I love my Ohio upbringing, but entertainment is not something you normally think about growing up in Ohio. So it just really wasn't encouraged. When I was growing up, it was encouraged to go to school, go to college, get a degree, get a good job, take care of your family, buy a house, retire, then die. So I was like, I don't want that life. I don't think God just put me here just to do none. And there's nothing wrong with working a good job.
Yeah.
But the focus is not, I'm gonna go to school, get a great job, get married, have a kid, buy a house. I call it the American lie. And I say it because we've been painted a picture of really just materialism. Everything is centered around acquiring things and not pouring out. And I look at the example of Jesus. Jesus came and he gave.
Yeah.
And if I'm following Jesus, which I do, my life has got to be poured out. I tell everybody I have a motto I live by, which is I want to leave this world empty.
Yeah.
And I, completely empty of every God-given gift I have. I will not make the cemetery rich with what God has put in me to do on this earth.
Yeah.
Because the cemetery, as you know, is the wealthiest place on earth. It's full of dreams and visions that people had that will go to the grave with them.
They were too scared to do it. Nicola is asking, what made you write this book?
Because I had went through a very difficult time in my life, and shattered is really where it comes from. But I went through a time where I had stepped out to do a venture, which I believed I was called to do. I still believe I was called to do. It was just God had other plans while I was going through it. But that venture failed. And as a result of that venture, it led me to a depression. And first time in my life, I had never really experienced a full depression. I didn't know what that felt like. I had no idea until, it took me to the point where I wanted to leave this world. And I'm thankful that I'm here. And I share this because there's nothing wrong with going through these types of struggles, because you need people. You do need the people that God has put in your life. You need them around you. And I isolated myself when I went through this depression. And I'll briefly tell, I was seconds away from making a choice to take my own life. But I'm grateful because it was nothing but God. God was there. The voice I heard was very, 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 very convicting. And the thing I was getting ready to do, I won't tell you because you have to read the book to find that out. But the thing I was getting ready to do was right before I was getting ready to do it, my conscience, which I believe was the Holy Spirit, was like, who's going to be the first one to find you? These are like, I'm like, huh? I'm like, somebody else in here is inside me was talking to myself. What are you teaching your son? What are you teaching your daughter? You want to leave your wife like this? And then just started building me up. Started talking about, I heard, I love you, and I have purpose for you. And before you know it, I was sitting down crying where I was getting ready to do do the act. But my wife, when she came home, first thing I said to her is that I'm broken. And this woman held me in her arms.
Yeah.
And it just, she gave me the safest place. And so I went to therapy and stuff after that. I processed it. I definitely believe in therapy. And I had a good therapist, and we really did. We processed everything. But I'll share this. Well, God used my daughter to really snap everything. I was on a game show called Let's Ask America several years ago, and it was one you do from home. hosted by Bill Bellamy. Actor Bill Bellamy was the host. And I almost won. I almost won the game. I was second, one round away. But when I lost, I felt like the heaviness of the depression tried to come back on me. And my daughter at the time was standing right there. She puts her hand on my shoulder and was like, I want my dad back. And you talk about a snap. But it broke a lot of things that I was like, whoa, I haven't been myself all this time. So during that time, that was one of the most difficult times for me, but it was also one of the best times for me because it really pushed me into my destiny. So that's why the book is called Shattered, A Journey Through the Pieces, because there are various parts of my life that led me to this point. And God has put it back.
Each chapter was like a piece, like a broken piece that you were mending back together with the life lessons at the end and the questions and
it's going to be more to it.
You can tell. You can tell there's a sequel to this for sure. You can tell.
And it won't be shattered anymore. It won't be shattered anymore.
maybe it'll be called Whole. So Vias is asking, will you be on Darman again?
Hey, that's up to the casting for Darman. It's we'll see what that future holds.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, we actors, we don't even know what's going on at the studio until they send us an email asking us if we're available for something. It's not like we got this like regular gig and we know we're gonna always be there. I remember there was a stretch of like 2 months when they never reached out for me, and I thought, did I do something wrong? Am I fired? Like what? How come I haven't heard from them in 2 months? So sometimes you'll go through these long stretches and I don't know. So we don't have control over that.
No, we don't.
I see you, Brittany. You were directing as a kid too, and people were calling you bossy.
Hey, that's a good gift.
That is a good gift if you use it correctly.
Correctly.
Okay, and there's a few people on the live stream who've chatted about also wanting to end their life, but they're glad they didn't because they can see, that God has another purpose for them. So I'm reading a few of those right now. Let's see what else we got. Lauren or Joy asks, Rodney, what made you want to become an actor and how long have you been acting?
Oh, wow. Well, what made me want to do it is when I was younger. I would say when I was in high school, when I wrote my first sketch comedy as a senior in high school, and I saw that I actually have a gift to do this, that's what really sparked it in me. That's when I really was like, man, I want to do this, but I didn't know how to do it at that time. I've been acting, let me say, good grief. I would say before moving to Los Angeles, and if you combine that, I would say a little over 15 years. I've been acting. So just started producing 5 years ago. So I started writing and producing my own stuff.
Awesome. Nicola wants to know if we've ever been to the UK. I have not.
I plan on working over there very soon. I keep putting it out there that I'm going to film a movie either as a lead or something. I'm going to shoot something over there. So my son has been there. So
okay, and listen, that's another thing, guys. You see how it's part of his dreams. So he's speaking it constantly. He's saying, "I'm going to the UK. I'm going to be shooting a movie there." He's doing what Jesus told us to do, which is call those things that be not as though they were. So speaking into existence, my car is paid off. Thank you, God, that my house is paid off. Thank you, God, that you have the perfect husband or wife for me. Thank you, God, that I'm acing all my tests in school. And you can say that when you're failing. Thank you, God, that I'm getting A's on all my tests, because you want to start speaking, or as Rodney would say, be in agreement with the things you actually want to have happen, the things that God would want to have happen in your life, and not the things you
Catherine,
don't.
you just reminded me. I got a quick story to tell.
Yeah,
it's about our time since we've been in Los Angeles, but you know how expensive it is out here to live, and So while we used to live way out near Rancho Cucamonga, which for those of you guys don't know, that's to LA. That's about 50 miles, but that's like 3 hour. That's a 3 hour trip, because 50 miles takes forever. So we were moving closer in. Like now I live in the Inglewood area, but we were moving closer in at the time, and I was part of this mentoring group, and we needed probably another $2,000 before the move. And this is how crazy I am with my faith, because I had told our leasing office where we were living out in Rancho, like we're moving. I had told them we're not renewing the lease. We didn't have any place yet. We didn't have a home. We didn't know where we were moving to. And I'm like, oh, and when I said that, I was like, oh, who said that? Did I say that?
Your
I
faith
told them
rose
we're
up.
moving. Yeah.
Your faith
I'm like,
said
oh
it.
my goodness. I'm like, God, what? Okay, what do I do now? So you like get out and start looking. So I started looking at everything. And then 10 days into my search for our new place, I hadn't found a place yet. So my wife was like, can you go back to the leasing office and see if they can give us more time? I went back to the leasing office. It was like, I'm sorry, we've already rented your place out. You guys got to be out on the 29th. They're like, oh no. So, yeah, so now I'm like, oh my goodness, we got 19 days. Before you know it, we found a place within 5 days. Then we had some of the money for the move, but I needed another $2,000. So I'm just like, okay, God, I'm gonna trust you for the. I was like, $2,000 is nothing to you. You own a cattle on 1,000 hills, so I'm gonna trust you through the process. So,
So
while I'm in this
you're
mentoring group,
calling on God's bank account and not your
yeah,
own.
not my own because
You guys hear how he said that? He's going $2,000 in the natural for you. That could have been like, where the heck are we going to get that? But you
yeah,
immediately went to $2,000. Oh God, that's nothing for you.
nothing.
And that's just the mindset that we have to constantly stay in when we get confronted with things that are kind of outside our faith. It's causing, sometimes we go through these situations to grow our faith. Sometimes we
Yeah,
go through these tough times to stretch our faith muscles, because if everything came easy to you, would you even need faith in God?
no, you wouldn't, and then you wouldn't be pleasing God because He says He wants you to have faith, because
Yep.
faith in Him. And like I look at Him, I'm like, hey, this is my dad. I'm talking to God now. I'm talking to my father. I like
Yeah.
just like my son and daughter when they were little, they believed there's nothing I couldn't do. And that's how we need to look at God. There's nothing He can't do.
Yeah.
So during that time, like while in the mentoring group, the guy who was leading the group, I didn't know he was part of like an investment group, and they do a lot of philanthropic things. They try to help people and stuff. I didn't know this, but he was asking me, he's like, "Hey, Rodney, how's the move going?" I was like, it's good. I said, I just got to, work a few things out. He was like, well, what things you got to work out? I was like, and then pride started setting in. I'm like, I just got a few things I got to take care of. All of a sudden, God was like, shut up. He's trying to help you. And so
Yes.
I was like, I'm trying to get about $2,000. He was like, really? That's about all you need? He said, what's the exact amount? I said, 2,100. He was like, okay. He said, I'll pray for it. So I'm thinking, okay, great. I told him he's praying. I was like, okay, I did it. I told him. Next day, in my Venmo account was $2,100.
Wow.
And I was like, I called him. I said, hey man, I didn't ask you for this. I was like, I don't want to take a loan out. He was like, that's fine. He said it was a gift. He said, all I ask you to do is that as God blesses you, and He's going to bless you greatly in this industry, that you pay it forward, that you find other people in need and you help move them forward towards their destiny. That's all I ask. That's payment to me.
Wow.
And I'll never forget that moment. It blew me away because I was like, man, that's so generous. I was like, who does that? But hey, it lifted my burden because I was like, yes.
And that's the thing. You never know who is capable of blessing you. And you don't want to have that pride and act like, well, I got it all together. I'm cool, whatever, because you never know who's listening that could make your dreams come true. Even if you think, well, what could they possibly do for me? You just don't know. And you cannot, as 127 Darman films say, you can't judge a book by its cover.
Exactly.
So Brittany wants to know, what are your favorite parts about living in California?
Well, let's start with the sun, because coming from Ohio, especially the Cleveland area where you would see sunlight, there would be like 4 months when you wouldn't see the sun. I love we get over 300 plus days of sunlight in California. I love being close to the beach because water does something for me. I don't have to be in the ocean, especially the Pacific Ocean is cold, especially on our end of the Pacific Ocean. So I go to the beach and I really just enjoy being there. I sit there, I listen to the waves, I let it speak to me. I let God just speak to me during that time. So that's one thing. Another thing I love. Also, I love the activity. it's a very, very alive place. Like all you do is go outside anytime, and you'll see a million cars on the road. People are going places. People are living. People are
Yeah.
moving. I love being in the city. I really do. It's crazy, but I love
Mona wants to know what advice would be for your 10-year younger self. What would
it.
you tell yourself, your 10 years ago self?
Um, to have more faith, to really believe um, God for what He has for me to do, to no longer be ashamed of who I really am. Like
Mm,
because I worked in corporate America for 20 plus years because I was trying to fit a square into a circle. that's
mm.
that's not working. I was jamming myself into a world that I thought I was supposed to be, and
Okay.
so I would really be willing to just venture out even more and not be
Okay.
afraid. Yeah, just go for it. Just live.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking through the questions now. Lily wants to know if we would ever want to visit cold and snowy places in Korea. Not me. No thanks.
If it's for work, yeah, I'll definitely come to shoot a
Okay, maybe
film.
for work.
Catherine and I, we're coming to shoot a film there. You never know. We'll be there to shoot a film there. Uh,
That's right. Somebody is asking, Yolanda is asking, who is your favorite coworker? Coworker
oh boy,
where?
yeah,
You mean,
where?
yeah, do you mean on Darman? That's probably what people mean.
Pointing right here. You see my
I
finger?
mean, do you really even need to ask? Of course it's me. Well, today anyway, for an hour.
I would say everybody is my favorite because I have fun with everyone that I work with.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that every acting project I've been on, all the cast and crew have been just great, beautiful people. I haven't been on the sets where you have people arguing and not
You
liking each
haven't been
other.
on
So,
any of those sets?
I'm grateful.
Wow.
Throughout my years, I'm grateful for that, that I haven't witnessed that. And
That's amazing.
when I produce, I don't tolerate it. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
good. We need more of your sets. Okay. Let's see. Oh, uh, Joy wants to share a joke she made up with you.
Okay.
Where do fish put their money?
In their skin.
In the river bank.
All right. Okay.
Okay,
Stand up comedian, stand up
we got
comedian.
a hardcore fan VS quoting from the Darman film we were in together. Hey babe, can you take me shopping? I need some new outfits for this weekend.
Yeah, she got me, didn't she? Really took advantage of it.
um, let's see. Mona is saying my favorite role of Rodney's is poor dad can't afford groceries. That video is so dear and touching.
Oh yeah. A lot of people like that one.
What let's see. Someone wants to know, Nicola wants to know what your favorite sport is. Oh
Oh wow.
no. Sorry. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. You might as well answer
Favorite
that.
sport?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you know, it's hard to answer that question now because as I've matured, I like all types of sports. Football is what I played a lot when I was younger, and I boxed, and I played basketball and ran track, and I played baseball. So, but I would say at this point in my life, um, my favorite sport, good grief, I would probably say it's still boxing. It really
Okay.
is. It's like I go back to the days. Muhammad Ali was somebody I really admired, and Sugar Ray Leonard. I, I'm kind of built like a Sugar Ray Leonard, so that's who I modeled myself after. Um, I just love the what it takes up here to really be successful in that sport.
Oh, okay. So I actually read her question wrong, and
Okay, okay.
apparently it was another joke. What
Oh,
is a sheep's favorite sport?
favorite
She's
sport?
a sheep's
Uh,
favorite sport.
let's see, basketball.
That was one of them. The other is badminton. Okay.
Oh my god.
Okay. So today I titled the Q&A something that I got from his book. A question he asked at the end of chapter 5 in his reflection questions. today's live stream I titled, "What Are You Doing About the Tug?" Now, you guys, we're talking about dreaming. We're talking about having faith. We're talking about believing God and letting there be no limits on dreaming. But then where the rubber meets the road is, what are the actions you're going to take? So you've got this thing we talked about at the beginning about where you feel like you mattered, where you felt important, kind of pulling in the things from your purpose. We've talked about stretching your faith. And now you know what that thing is, that thing that's tugging at you. It's pulling at your heart, whether it's moving to LA to start an acting career, getting the courage to open up your own business. When you guys read Rodney's book, you're going to see he owned his own insurance business. He did a lot of different things. Whenever he felt the tug to do something, he went for it. So what, you guys in the audience, what are you doing right now to take care of that tug? How are you designing your life and designing your days around that tug? For me, I have to schedule something every single day towards my goals. If I'm not doing at least one thing every day towards my goals, I'm not doing something about the tug. Do you want to speak more on that, Rodney?
Oh man, well, everything you said was amazing. So I'll add a little extra to it.
Okay.
but what I think about the tug is that, and like I love what you said about every single day. There's got to be an action every single day towards your goal. Like if I'm not, for my application here, if I'm not actually working on a set, I make sure I touch a script every single day. My son
So you're
and I, we
honing
have
your
our
craft, working on your craft.
constantly.
So someone who wants to try out for a team sport, even if you're not at practice that day, you've got the ball in your hands, you're shooting, you're doing whatever to keep honing your skills.
It never stops.
That what's that saying about when preparation meets opportunity? You don't want to get ready, you want to stay ready.
Stay ready. So you got to make sure you line up your activities with what you believe God wants you to do in this life. And that involves, really, you got to kind of cut certain things out your life, including
certain people.
Including the people who are not speaking life to your situation. If you have a lot of people who are speaking doubt and just constantly questioning what you're doing, oftentimes they're just putting their fears on you. They're putting what they believe they can't do. And they're just like, well, I know I can't do it, so you definitely can't do it.
Right. We talk about that projection a lot on here. And I'm constantly telling people, what people say says more about them than it does about you. But if our self-esteem is so little and we tend to take in other people's words, and we have to learn to reject people's words that either don't line up with God or or if they cripple us from going after our dreams. We have to just say, nope, not going to believe it.
And Catherine, I tell everybody, it starts first thing in the morning. When you get up and you go to the bathroom and you look in the mirror, that person you see in the mirror, that's who you need to start working on right away with the thoughts. Because I don't know about you, but I know every morning I have to combat thoughts that are trying to come against me that day, trying to make me think something negative. So that's when I actually do my war. I'm fighting first thing in the morning when I'm brushing my teeth. I'm like, no, you're this, no, you're that, you're that. You don't let anything else. So then by the time I step outside the door, I'm ready. So you don't want to step outside trying to get ready. You want to start your morning looking at that person.
You don't want to leave the house until you're built up in your inner man, till you have your full armor on, because when you step out that door, the devil's going to be coming at you, especially if you're trying to make a difference in the world. He's going to try to get you offended, try to get you hurt, try to get you riled up. The devil knows what your triggers are, and he's going to send those people in your life to push those buttons. And my thing is, don't have buttons, because if you don't have buttons, then people can't push them. So you have to get to a place where nothing can trigger you. Someone can say the most mean thing to you and you can laugh about it. Like, who are you talking to? Like, that nothing can bother you and offend you, because we're supposed to be dead to ourselves. So you go to a cemetery and you say some mean, vile things to someone. Are they going to you going to get a rise out of them?
They
No.
ain't even thinking about you.
You got to die to yourself and your agendas and just let what happens and say, God, okay, I wasn't expecting this, but I know you're going to turn it around and work all things for my good. So I'm not even going to get upset about this.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes that's easier said than done. And sometimes some of us have been guilty of losing it so much that security has been called on us. Oh, you too?
No, I'm just.
Oh, only me. only I almost got kicked out of some place. Never mind. We won't go there today. Right? It's like that meme. Have you seen that meme with Martha Stewart and Snoop Dogg, and it says only one of these two has been in federal prison? Angela, thank you for the gift. Right. Not me either, thank goodness. But, when you get security called on you kind of wonder what's going to go down. I may or may not have run out of the place before the security got there. Okay, that's for another day.
Oh, boy.
Let's see. Somebody's telling me, okay, Rodney, if you ever do a meet and greet, would you do it with Catherine? Also, will you come to Florida for a meet and greet?
Heck yeah, I love Florida. Florida has great weather. It's warm all the time there.
Okay, wait, Brittany is saying the tug is real. I'm accepting help and putting in the work, taking things into existence speaking things into existence more often, surrounding myself with same-minded people and learning patience. Awesome.
I'm applauding that because that's what you need right there. That's the sauce right there. When they be like, what allows you to be successful? You really do. You got to have a team that really believes in you and you believe in them. You lift each other up and they're willing to tell you the truth too. You need some friends who are willing to tell you the truth. You
need some gentle, kind slaps once in a while. Little upside the head. What are you thinking, girl?
Exactly.
We need some loving spankings and chastisement.
Yeah. We all can use those.
Anna Ditt wants to know, what's your favorite cuisine, Rodney?
Oh my goodness. Well, I love Italian food. Actually, I'm trying to think. Well, put it like this: if I'm thinking about something I love, a tomahawk steak.
Tomahawk, what is that?
It's a huge steak, and they make it at Castaway's restaurant in Burbank. But it's at a lot of fine dining restaurants and stuff like that. But it's a large piece. It's the best cut of steak. I'm not a big meat eater. I don't eat it all the time, but when I do, I do. And I like to eat a good juicy steak. So I almost make my mouth water right now because I don't eat a whole lot of red meat. I think I probably eat red meat like once right now every couple months now. Not anymore. But I do like steak. Yeah. That's one reason why I can't become a vegetarian. So I like steak and bacon. I like those.
Well, you could be a flexitarian, Rodney. Have you ever heard of a flexitarian?
No, I haven't.
A flexitarian is someone who prefers like vegetarian and vegan food, but every now and then they'll have a steak. They're flexible. They're comfortable. Like 90% of the time they opt for like vegetarian and vegan food, but then every now and then. So don't say you couldn't be a vegetarian, because you could be a flexitarian, and that would help the animals and the planet.
Well, I may be one then, because
you might be a flexitarian.
But I'm not 90%, but
okay,
I'm about 60% right now.
Okay,
60%.
that's
65%.
You're working up. You're working up to it. You work up to 90%. Your liver and kidneys and arteries will thank you for it.
That is true. That is true. I want to take care of them.
You say in chapter 7. I just made a note that I wanted you to talk about this. Because I feel like a lot of people that have talked to me on my live stream are really upset about failures they've had in their life. And you say here, it's dangerous to take failures too personally or seriously. A few years ago, I suffered one of the worst failures of my life, and I decided to step away from a comfortable job into a venture, an opportunity that I believe God was calling me to do. And that was to start a church. For
Yeah.
those of you who don't know, Rodney is an ordained minister. And yet, in this calling, he, you could use the word, failed.
Failed. Yeah,
He
failed.
failed at
Hmm.
starting this church and becoming a pastor. So,
Yeah.
if you want to talk a little bit about that and how you were able to not take the failure personally or seriously, I'm sure there was a phase where you did, and then
Yeah.
you had to learn from it how not to. I think that's very
Yes.
important for everybody on here when something doesn't work out. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean you're a failure, it just means you tried something that didn't work. So,
Right.
go ahead and speak about that.
Well, in order to be successful, you have to be willing to fail. Um, if you never step out and try things and live life safe, as they say, um, you'll never really experience what what God fully has for you. And I had to learn that through the process when I stepped out to plant this church. One, it was a very scary thing because I'm I was very comfortable at the church I was working at, but I got recruited by a church planting organization. I didn't know much about the church planting world, but I did know that God had put a gift in me. So I wanted to use it in a different way. I felt like the way I was working, I was like, okay, God, maybe you're doing something different. But stepping out to do that, one, fundraising, I found out is not something that I'm great at, And I was like, as far as for like, it's like, because I didn't raise enough funds. That was part of the reason why the church failed. Um, didn't have a problem bringing people to the church. We actually met in a movie theater. It was really cool. You know,
Oh, wow.
yeah, we rented a movie theater and had a good time there. And I actually saw what happened through the failure is that I saw the successes that took place through the failure. One, I
Mm.
saw there was a man who he was in his early 50s at the time. His wife had been praying for him to come to God. They had just relocated to the Cleveland area. He did not like pastors and he never went to church. But when he
Oh,
met me and saw that I was a different type of pastor, just relaxed, just myself, and not trying to be somebody that I wasn't, he started thinking that maybe there is something to this God. Sure
mm,
enough, he gave his life to God through the church plant we started.
wow.
And I baptized him. And then right after I did that, his family got relocated to another city.
Oh.
So it's almost like God brought him there
Mhm.
to become a Christian and then allowed him to go on. And to this day, we still keep in touch, and he still thanks me for being obedient to that. So through the
Wow.
failure, I was able to see the small successes that took place. I even saw that even though I failed at planting that church, I saw that the boldness that God put in me, that it got even stronger because I stopped caring about what people thought about me. And I
That's
started really
huge.
believing that I wanted to live the way God had wired me to live the rest of my
Yeah.
life. And not because part of my depression came from me trying to fulfill other people's expectations of
Yep.
who they thought I should be. So that led me
Mhm.
to the depression. So now I've learned that I live more as who God wired me to be. I'm unapologetic about who I am. I'm a big kid. I love my life. I have more people. I put it like this. I connect with more people who are 20 years younger than me than people my age
Yeah.
because God has given me such a youthful spirit. So I
And have
accept
you
who I fully
noticed
am.
have you noticed people of your age have kind of lost their luster? They've kind of given up on their dreams a little. They're kind of just
Yeah.
sliding through life and they're like, well, back then I could have whatever. And
Yeah.
so you tend to align yourself with people who have the same electricity or energy, or they're
Yeah.
dreamers. And when
That's
you
exactly
notice
it.
yourself getting around people that are just like wanting to slide, it is time to change your circle.
Yeah. They got to go. And a lot of people my age are like talking retirement plans. I'm well, I'll be retiring in 10 years. I'm like, 10 years. I was like, what I do, I don't ever want to retire.
Yeah.
I love what God has me doing. As long as I'm healthy and got my right mind, I want to do this the rest of my life.
And do you know a lot of people don't talk about this, but do you know the Bible only mentions retirement once? And it's not even like stopping your work. It was one of
Yeah.
the priests in the Bible, and it was basically talking about just switching. Like when you get to a certain age, you switch to a different role or a different calling, but you
Yeah.
never stop. You never quit,
No.
right? You're going to be
No.
doing something until the day you die.
Yeah.
Even if you're in a nursing home, are you going around encouraging people? Are you leading like a book club?
Yeah.
Are you writing pen? Are you a pen pal to people in prison? You're doing something that's making a difference in the world to the day you die. Because if
Yes.
not, everything, you're shrinking. Your brain is
Yeah.
shrinking. Your life is shrinking. The minute you turn inwards and it's just about you, everything just sucks in and shrinks. You have to
Yeah.
live your life outward for others.
I love
But
that. I love the way you put
I'm
that.
I'm cautioning those who are, there's people who are doormats, and
Yeah.
you have to, like we were talking about at the beginning, fill
Boundaries.
yourself, love
Yes.
yourself, self-love, then
Yes.
pour out on others. Don't pour out on others while you're empty, because you got
Ba-
nothing to give, but I don't
Boundaries.
know.
And everybody heard the airplane analogy by this point. When you get on a plane, they tell you, for some of you guys, I don't know. I don't want to assume everybody's been on the plane because some people have not. But
Mm,
basically, when you get ready to get on the plane, they tell you about putting the oxygen on if the cabin has issues with pressure. And the
mhm,
first thing they tell you to do is put the oxygen mask on yourself first, and
mhm,
then help somebody next to you,
mhm,
because you can't help somebody else if you're not breathing. So that's what it is. It's like you got to make sure you're breathing first, and have boundaries when it comes to people. Don't ever be a doormat. I know how to say no. I've
That's
learned the
good.
I've learned the beauty of no. That actually could
Mm.
be a good title of a book too. The beauty of no. It
Yeah,
really
you
is.
should write it. People would read that. Mona is saying energy is energy transference and can be healing or draining. Yeah, you get in a room and sometimes you're with some VDPs. That's what my old pastor used to call very draining people. You st- you see them and you just want to run the other way. Yeah, you do
Yeah.
have to guard your energy, because often people will take you down before you're able to bring them up. Just the pull, just think of the pull of gravity. It's much easier for someone to be taken down than for you to be lifting people up. It's a whole different thing.
Yes, it is.
Um, Shanti is asking Shanti's asking us to pray for the people of Sri Lanka.
Mm.
Let's see, is there any, do we have any, we're wrapping up here in just a couple of minutes. Rodney's been so generous with his hour of time, and I'm grateful that you guys were all on here. Mona's saying,
I'm
I love that, the beauty of no, and releasing the guilt of having to say no when it's for our own personal protection. Because
Yeah.
there's some people out there that will make you guilty if you say no.
Yeah. They will. But that's their problem. I tell everybody, your emergency is not my emergency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a famous quote. I don't remember it exactly, but your poor planning, or your poor prior planning, does not necessitate an emergency on my part. Sorry, you
Pretty much.
messed up, but
Yeah.
I'm not here to save the day every time. And that was a hard lesson for me to learn. Is
Yeah.
I was constantly bailing people out until God stopped me one day and said, "Listen, you are not their savior. And every
No.
time you bail them out, they're turning to you instead of turning to me." And that was like a
Ooh.
big spanking from daddy, big
Yeah.
spanking from Father God, that they were looking to me as their savior instead of God. And we cannot take his place. No matter how
No.
much we're trying to help, we could
Yeah.
be thwarting someone's learning process by not allowing them to go through this. And that's
Yeah.
sometimes, our heart hurts. We want to save these people. We want to, but you have to really be prayerful, and even who you choose to help, because for
Yeah.
some people it could be taking them down. Rodney, do you have any
That's true.
last words you want to leave? Is there something that I didn't ask you that you were burning to talk about, that that you want to say?
Well, first I just want to say thank you for allowing me to be on your platform with you today. It was a great time. I enjoyed it. Thank you to everybody who joined us and participated. And I pray that you got something from this talk this morning that we had. One thing I tell people to do is stop watching inspiring lives and become one. Because each and every one of us have a purpose. We have a gift that God has given us to use. So Stop being so in awe of people that you see doing things. You're just as powerful. You're just as impressive. You can do just
Yes.
as many great things if you focus on what God has called you to do. And not saying that you hate on the other people, but no, don't take too much time looking at people. God has a job for you to do. It's time to get about His job for you and stop worrying about everybody else.
Awesome. That's
Hmm.
a good place to end it. Thank you everyone for coming and spending your Sunday with us, and be blessed. Thank you,
Yeah.
Rodney.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.